Welcome to Chapter 15 of Storming Babylon. In this chapter, we will continue to explore the exciting and action-packed world of this thrilling book. We hope you are enjoying the story so far and are eager to find out what happens next. As we delve deeper into the plot, we encourage you to immerse yourself in the exciting events that unfold. From thrilling action scenes to heart-pumping moments of suspense, Storming Babylon is sure to keep you on the edge of your seat. We appreciate your support and hope that you continue to enjoy the journey we have in store for you. Thank you for enjoying the story, and we look forward to sharing more with you in the upcoming chapters. Chapter 20, Desperate Stand.
Echoes of violence danced up the elevator shaft and stairs like it was knocking at the doors. They were really in it now. Dom had himself, a half-mangled doctor, and a one-armed man. It sounded like a better punchline than a roll call for a fight. Dom had already pried the elevator door open and looked down the shaft. The car was still descending, almost to the lobby now. He had no idea what fate lay in wait for its operator, but he wished the guy luck. The next step was to evaluate the stairs. Dom took a couple of steps over to the door adjacent to the stairs, hoping he would find a way to see down at least a few flights. No luck. The stairs zipped around a concrete column that probably stretched the height of the building. The sound of trouble was already audible as the cultists made their way to him. Dom looked to Stein.
"What weapons do we have?"
Stein looked around before answering.
"A few improvised things."
He walked over to a decorative wall mount sporting a medieval helm, gauntlet, and comically oversized scimitar made to look like a cavalry saber.
"And this."
He reverently retrieved the weapon from its moorings. Dom's head rolled in disdain.
"I don't think what's coming cares about decorative wrap."
In one smooth motion, Stein cleft 9 inches from the corner of his desk.
"I retract my statement."
Dom finished. He took a mental note not to get into a physical confrontation with Adam Stein. The giant waved the blade in salute with a wry smile. Koslov had not been idle during his master's display. He had found the fire cupboard in his office and returned to the room holding the end of a fire hose and an axe.
"Not weapons, per se, but better than nothing."
Dom nodded at the doctor's quick thinking before reflexively catching the ornate box Stein had tossed him during his moment of distraction.
"Detective, you have already gone beyond your assigned duties. You have earned this."
Dom stared at the pistol box with a childish grin. His mind shifted into an old, familiar mode. He checked and loaded the now matched pair of pistols. His mental transition was apparent to both Adam and Artem, as the soldier detective turned to them. Dom was in charge now. When he was satisfied with his arsenal, Dom pulled the sack of rice from his jacket, tore open an end, and spread it liberally across the floor near the elevator and stairs.
"Doc, get those stairs blocked. I want them jammed up tight. Nothing gets through or we will be paying for it in blood."
Koslov nodded, and they began hefting whatever furniture they could through the stairwell door.
"Stein, would hate for you to get your hand dirty, but if you could fit it into your schedule, I would love it if you could cut the elevator cable."
Dom felt disassociated from his own body. It was like some ghost from his past had returned to possess him. While he gave crisp orders and moved with confidence, he was tortured by a flood of nightmares. With one quick motion, he severed the elevator cables. The car dropped 3 stories before its brakes kicked in. Dr. Koslov hadn't seen the overly enthusiastic intruder who had managed to get up the stairs ahead of his cultist allies. The man swung through the stair entrance and into the office with a feral scream, gun in hand. He had the doctor dead to rights and smiled. A gunshot froze the doctor in his tracks, his face pale with surprise. The intruder fell dead to the floor. Dom's pistol smoked with grim finality. Koslov gasped, finally remembering to breathe. In an instant, Dom was dragging the corpse away from the door while waving Koslov on with his pistol. A quick frisk of the dead man gave Dom a loaded Thompson and a bandolier of hand grenades.
"Holy cow,"
Dom thought.
"These people are not messing around."
Koslov had a pair of chairs and a couch jammed into the stairwell door just as Dom heard trouble coming from the elevator shaft. Taking a quick peek, He spotted a team of zombies climbing past the elevator car up the shaft walls, their talons sinking in with ease. He admired their ingenuity as he gauged the distance. Stein looked at the explosives in Dom's hand.
What were they planning to do with those?
Dom maintained eye contact with Stein as he pulled the pins on each grenade, counting in his head as he went.
This.
He stretched his arm out over the lip of the shaft and let the bandolier fall. Seconds later, a chain of explosions sent a gout of heat and debris up the shaft, causing Adam to flinch. Dom spared a moment to check in on his handiwork, fewer zombies coming up than before. The elevator was still intact. Another pressing matter arose. Sounds of Kozlov's stair block tearing to pieces told of cultists working to breach them. He could hear muffled Cantonese from at least a half-dozen of them. He moved quickly to Stein's big desk and waved his allies over.
Help me flip this thing. We are going to need cover.
He gave the thing a mighty heft with all his strength, finding it well secured to the floor. Koslov and Stein joined him, each grabbing an edge and turning it on its side. Dom was glad the guys with super strength were on his side. There they waited, a soldier, armed swordsman, and ape-armed doctor with a fire hose. They were as ready as they were going to be. The last of the furniture blockade was ripped into the stairwell. A breath later they came. The first pair through the door were dead in an instant. Dom's bullets cut through the cultists. The next 6 madmen stormed over their comrades' bodies as they returned fire. The glass wall behind them exploded outward as automatic fire filled the room. Before the bad guys fanned out, they were blasted into the wall by a torrent of water. Dom let loose with the Thompson while they were pinned. A pair of monsters slipped out of the elevator shaft, intent on making their way across the room. They screamed in frustration as they spotted Rice in their path and started counting. Dom let them have it with melted coin bullets from his first pistol. The rounds didn't just go through them, they damn near evaporated the things. The remaining zealots began to lay down a withering hail of fire towards the desk, informing Dom it was a good time to reload from its solid cover. The raucous noise was nearly deafening, the flying debris was almost blinding, and the desk was withholding the punishment for the moment.
The rice won't hold them forever.
Dom shouted to his comrades.
Neither will the hose,
replied Koslov before stealing a moment to poke out to spray blindly at their attackers. Dom peeked over the desk at Kozlov's handiwork. It was true. The water pressure was dropping fast. Soon, it would be useless. Moreover, he spotted a clawed hand rising over the lip of the elevator shaft those zombies sure could climb.
What do we do next?
Stein asked in a booming voice that barely cut through the din.
Doc, when the water runs out, get down and keep an eye out. Stein, you flank me and rush the elevator, those bastards can't get in here.
What will you do?
Asked Koslov as the last of the water pressure died out. A brief quiet filled the room, allowing Dom's words to sound clear to everyone.
Fight.
In a synchronous motion, Stein exploded from behind cover, chased by a hail of bullets as he went. Dom popped up and braced his stolen rifle on the desk before letting more guys have it who were trying to pour out of the stairwell. Koslov ducked down low enough to leave just his head visible. Every gunman who drew a bead on Stein was blasted with Dom's well-aimed volleys. This allowed the big man to get in position as the next zombie stepped onto the landing from the elevator shaft. An instant later, the zombie's head tumbled off Artem's fire axe, now firmly embedded in the elevator door.
Nice save, Doc.
Dom called out in a nearly monotone voice. The cultists started using the corpses of their brethren as shields. They fired blindly as they fanned out across the office. They paid Stein no mind, as more of their monstrous allies managed to slip through the elevator doors and press him back with fang and claw. A zombie with bloodlust landed on Dom's gun barrel after a mighty leap. Koslov stood, grabbed it in his substantial arms, and flung it over the balcony and into oblivion. He caught a spray of bullets for his trouble before he landed hard behind the desk. Dom used the moment to jump over the desk and charge the enemy. On his way, he spent the last of the rifle clip before flipping it around to use as a club. He was among them in an instant, knocking one man off his feet with a savage swing. Dom let the rifle fly from his hands as he gripped both pistols. He slid on the water slick floor as he took 4 shots, finding targets for each. Machine gun fire traced its way to the ceiling as a dead cultist fell with his finger still depressing the trigger. One of his unlucky companions fell with him as he was caught in the dying man's fire. Dom slid into the wall among the cultists. One roared in victory as he leveled his rifle at Dom, point blank, having him dead to rights. He was knocked away by a flying wooden arm. Tracing the trajectory, Dom saw Stein, still battling 2 zombies. He had taken the time to grip his sword in his teeth, detach his arm, and then throw his prosthetic at Dom's would-be killer before regaining his weapon.
Thought you could use a hand, detective.
Dom rolled to one side, avoiding a boot stomping and a few bullets.
Cheeky bastard,
Was all he had time to utter before he scrambled into Kozlov's office. He was about to catch his breath when Thompson rounds drew a line of holes in the wall at head height. 2 smoking holes appeared in the wall, inches from either side of his head. Dom's lightning-fast reaction allowed him to find his feet again. He was just in time to tackle a masked man charging through the door to the room Koslov had gathered the firefighting equipment from, bowling the man over to the floor. The 2 grappled on the floor, fighting for the machine gun pressed between them. The struggle ended as Dom felt his nose break under the vicious assault of a headbutt from his opponent. Dom reeled back and grabbed his face, as the cultist stood triumphantly. He raised his weapon to end Dom. That was enough time for Dom to regain his senses and give the man a brutal leg sweep. The zealot hit the ground head first with a solid crack. He bawled as he gripped the back of his head until Dom dragged himself to his feet and ended the noise with a burst from the zealot's own gun. Koslov called out from across the room. Another zombie was assaulting him, disabling his remaining arm. The doctor was fighting for his life and losing. The zombie was swiping large red strips out of Koslov, forcing him back into the rain and to the balcony's edge. Stein looked over from his position near the elevator, kneeling on a zombie he had impaled with his sword on the marble floor. He was still coming to grips with the beast and too far to help his friend. He shouted,
"No,"
as he continued his struggle. Dom's nose leaked like an open faucet and he had blurred vision. He gripped the Thompson with both handles and aimed as he started walking toward Koslov, wishing the room to stop its confounded spin. The doctor would be gone in a moment if he couldn't figure out how to end the man's assailant. He started a full-on sprint toward them. There was no way he would get a shot without hitting the doctor, so he had to try something else. As he gained momentum, he scooped up the chunk of desk Stein had clipped earlier and hucked it at the beast, hitting it square in the head. It turned from its current victim and faced the oncoming mortal. It was too late to brace, as Dom crashed into it. It went, screaming, over the edge as Dom made a desperate bid to stop himself from following it by gripping the balcony rail. He slowed his inevitable demise long enough for Stein to get to him and drag him to safety. Stein and Dom helped Artem up as he offered his thanks. The bloodied soldier was not paying attention. Distant sounds of battle that crept up the elevator shaft spoke of still more trouble downstairs. Dom muttered in his stupor, "Jackie," before gathering a smattering of ammo for the Thompson and heading down the stairs before he heard Stein ask, "What's wrong, detective?" He ached and his face was a mess, but Dom raced down the stairs as fast as his body would carry him. He didn't hear any more gunshots downstairs but feared the worst. Images of zombies ripping a scared pumpkin into chunks flooded his mind. Seconds ran by and his lungs and legs screamed at him to stop. He couldn't. Jackie was down there somewhere, and he couldn't leave his friend to die. Dom nearly collapsed as he found himself at the door to the lobby. A lanky elf lay dead in the doorway, propping the door open like a morbid doorstop. He took a shuddering breath before peeking into the lobby. There were bodies everywhere. The whole place was a mess of death and debris. He picked up distant sobs and chatter from survivors somewhere to his right and out of the lobby. He saw nothing else alive and decided to run for nearby cover. A trio of zombies was retreating down the grand staircase. They leaped down the last set of stairs and landed in a sprint headed for the building entrance. Dom casually gunned down 2 of them before the third disappeared through the entrance. Chasing after them, Lorenzo and his pissed-off lackeys poured down the grand staircase in hot pursuit. The bloodsuckers slowed to a stop as they caught sight of Dom, all smiles.
You sure do know how to miss the best parts of a party, Dom.
Lorenzo's excited smile put his fangs on full display. Other survivors wandered into the lobby from side rooms, hidden places, and out from behind the remaining desks. As the mood collapsed from tension to exhaustion, the escaped zombie came screaming back into the lobby. Everyone tensed, ready for another fight when the upper half of it exploded with a gory bang. The remains of the beast fell to the floor, revealing what was left of Jackie, a Morsberg shotgun in a broken and twisted arm. The pumpkin took the tattered fragments of his vines, snapping them off in his teeth and dropping them on the floor before wandering up to his boss. A new arm slowly blossomed and elongated in the pumpkin's stained sleeve.
Sheesh. This thing has got a kick.
Dom noted the remaining zombie parts were littered with pocket change. Dom was thankful but still on edge, quickly reaching Jackie just outside what was left of the door.
You see our guy from Chinatown, Jackie?
Jackie turned with a sheepish grin.
You know. Do you know, boss? I may just have seen that fellow of whom you speak.
Dom sighed. The soldier faded away to allow the detective to regain control.
Jackie, this ain't a freaking game show. Where did he go?
Well, boss, that's a funny old story. I saw him standing around yelling like it was his job after his buddy got his face stabbed in, so I snuck up on him with my trusty new shotgun.
Where the hell did you get a shotgun?
Boss, that's not part of the story. If you could, please let me finish this gripping tale.
Dom looked surprised but gestured for the pumpkin to continue.
Okay, boss. Anyhow, I was standing there right behind him. And, well, I shot him.
You shot the man in red. At close range. With a shotgun?
Yeah, boss. It is called a shotgun, right? It tells you what to do with it right in the name.
Dom looked at a giant blood trail on the ground. It led to a half-conscious man in red trapped prone beneath a very dead, again, zombie.
So boss, I shot him. He dragged himself outside cursing and yelling and well, bleeding. He then turns around and blammo.
Blammo?
Yeah, boss. Blammo. A zombie comes down like a brick from heaven. A bunch of them got away, boss. What are we going to do about that?
Themis will likely be on their tail before too long. Those wolves love it when people run from them.
Lena would love to chase someone down. She missed all the fun.
Papa Mac likely had something else going on with her. So how did you get the shotgun to work on the juncture, Jackie? Dom was truly curious.
Oh, right, boss. That nice woman gave me a bag of neat coins that fit into the barrel really well. Lorenzo said people would toss nails and stuff in shotguns, so I thought coins would be a cinch.
The man in red sputtered through bloody teeth.
Why you think you WW1? More will take my PP place to finish my mission.
With that and a flick of his tongue, he pushed one of his teeth out of place and bit down on it. This ended his life before he could be captured. Bruno walked up to Dom to look down at the dead ringleader.
Idiot picked the wrong place to say that. Stein will have his brain hooked up before his body gets cold.
The bloodsucker laughed and spat on the dead cultist, slapped Dom on the shoulder, and continued.
Hell of a night, Dom. The best pre-meeting briefing I've been to in decades.
Dom shook his head, feeling aches and pains that promised a world of agony in the coming weeks. It beat the alternative, so he patted the vampire on the shoulder and laughed despite himself on his way back to the lobby. By the time the trio had returned to the lobby, a familiar face rested against a pillar. Lorenzo was accepting a portion of something pungent in a paper cup from a mustached man.
I am glad you're okay, kid.
Lorenzo offered. Bruno shuffled past the pair to rally the remaining vampires. The fight and stay had lasted long enough that sunlight would soon be a big problem for them. Dom muttered,
"Glad you're not dead."
Lorenzo hunted down a smoke and lit it, exhausted as he was.
I was hoping for something like, "Hi, or you look good, Lorenzo." You know, something heartfelt and meaningful.
Dom could not contain his wry grin as he helped the man who'd raised him most of his life to his feet.
"Hi. You look like hell. This doesn't make us good yet." "Ah. But you said, yet."
Dom had Lorenzo's arm over his shoulders and shuffled them both through the entrance of Babylon. Jackie slithered about behind them until he had himself back together enough to walk in their shadow. Dom chuffed.
"Don't read too much into it."
It was Lorenzo's turn to smile, that infuriating smile Dom had always let get under his skin. The man had been a terrible father, much more like an older brother than a parental figure.
"Don't worry, kid. I will."
Dom shot the vampire a dangerous glance as Lorenzo continued to barb him playfully.
"I mean, you admitted there was a chance. That's all I need. I'll have you back in the family by moonrise at this point."
"I could leave you in the street to bake."
Dom threatened to drop the man to emphasize his point. It didn't matter, they both knew he was joking around now. It was banter. Neither of them had been able to partake of it for years. It felt good. It almost felt like family.